So today we're talking about sales specifically in an outbound call model, all right? So today we're going to cover cold calling outreach, lead inquiry, business to business, business development. We're going to cover the foundations and the algorithm that I've used to generate over $100 million in sales in the last few years. Okay, let's get into it. Okay, so outbound sales, right? So we're talking about an outbound call model when you're selling your product or service or whatever it may be. So if you're a young founder and you're starting a company, if you're an existing business, sales underpin that. We need to understand that businesses are about economics. Yeah, there's certain principles about you want to build and sell a great product, I get that. But if you can't sell the product, the business cannot survive. So you need to have sales to generate economics to support business growth, right? So understand that in that first instance. You'll be surprised the amount of businesses that start and 12 months later, they haven't sold one product. They don't normally last very long. If you hear those numbers, like 1 out of every 10 businesses succeed and 9 of them fail. And it's probably worse than that. And the reason is because they're full of neurosis, right? They focus on all the back end stuff, the marketing, the creatives, the product, which is super critical to get right, but they don't sell it, right? So I'm gonna dive into sales. Now, if you're a sales agent, this is the episode for you because I'm really gonna take it from the perspective of a human being sitting in a seat making calls to customers to sell them product, right? By the way, cold outreach, outbound sales is still one of the most popular ways to generate revenue and money for a business. Right, I'm gonna start with cold call. Oh, the worst thing in the world, hated it. But I cut my teeth on that. So if you're a sales agent working an outbound sales call, if you're a sales professional who's currently in the market on the phones, right? Or you're thinking about moving into that market. Look, I'm not even gonna call it a sales agent. Let's call it a sales executive, right? For the lack of a better term. Because I think sales, you can earn so much more money in sales than you can in jobs like being a lawyer, being a doctor, right? Being an accountant, you know, all those high profile, what they deem as high earning jobs are capped, right? In sales, you could work for yourself. You could also be an FTE, a full-time employee, and be in an uncapped situation where you can earn copious amounts of money. It's surprising, right? It still blows my mind how much a young 25-year-old sales agent can earn working in the right business and the right model though. That's sort of critical. So it's funny, right? If you could earn the same amount of money the Prime Minister or the President gets as a base salary as a salesperson, why doesn't it have any more stature to it, right? Because it's sort of frowned upon. I notice that companies put sales in the back room or in the basement, right? They shouldn't. We don't do that in this company. You know, we probably consider ourselves to be a sales company that sells a product that can help somebody, right? So that's a pretty good space to be in. Regardless of the product, regardless of the service you're selling, these are the foundational principles. There's 5 of them that I normally lean into, and I just want to cover these 3 topics because if you're watching this, you're going to be in one of these categories if you're in an outbound call sales team. All right, cold outreach. So if you're doing B2B or B2C, so business to consumer or business to customer and business to business, cold outreach is where most young startups and founders, when they build their business, they start here. So what they do is they go and buy a list. They already have a list. They upload that list into a CRM and then they make calls, right? That's one model, it works, but the conversion rate's quite low. I normally think it's probably from about 2 to 5% is where you would normally convert. So if you run the numbers across that, there's a lot of labor in that, right? So people will outsource that because they don't want to do it in their business. The problem with that, depending on the product and the service, that doesn't work because we're in Australia, right? So for example, if I took that avatar of the typical person you're trying to sell a product to in Australia, they're very critical of a market, right? And they can smell a bullshit artist a mile away. I'll be honest with you, to the point, that's just who they are. I sort of like that market because it makes it challenging. So you have to navigate the avatar of the market in which you're selling to, right? But cold outreach will have the lowest conversion out of these 3 models, but it still works. The good thing about this model is you're going to start to build a database. But you have to give it time. The other thing about this, which I love, is it's got low barriers to entry. right? It's a big one. If you're starting a business and you're trying to figure it out and you've got no money for marketing, right? Marketing is expensive. You'll spend $40 to $60 for a Meta lead. You'll spend $75 to $150 for a Google lead. And it's not going down, it's going up, because that real estate is getting very expensive. I actually think that cold outreach will have a resurgence in the next few years, because there are going to be companies in a startup phase who can't afford to advertise in a market that's where the market cost has increased dramatically, probably 2x in the next 7 years. Right, so that means your $1,000 a week budget for advertising is really only going to get half the amount of lead quantity for you. So there's some validity in this if you want to plan it and think about it. You could also go to Done For You. So an option if you're starting a business and you need to generate revenue, this is cheap, right? This is the cheapest option you have. But a Done For You team can also cost you $0, but the risk is slightly higher. So a Done For You team is that there's a sales team in another city, in the same city, somewhere in the country, they could be offshore as well, is they take a percentage of the deal. That's normally 25 to say 45%. So you're losing margin, right? So you're outsourcing your cost of sale to acquire that customer. The problem with that is that you need to ensure that in the database, you get all of this business back into your own IP where it's protected so you own it. Because the great thing about this is when you build a database in a year, you could have 25K clients in one space. And that is when you turn on marketing. So if you're a new business, you don't have any revenue, you've got a little bit of money to get the business started, you're selling a product or a service, what you could do is you could use this methodology and this model in a Done For You model, outsource it. You could do it yourself, but remember, low conversion rate, 2 to 5%. It's got low barriers to entry. You build a database in 12 months, then you turn marketing on. Let's say in 12 months. You have 25K in your system that you've pre-qualified up here, and now you can do advertising to them. The second thing that you can do is you can retarget them. And then you can nurture them. Does that look like a you? Yeah, that looks like a you. And then you can nurture them, but it takes time. So you do the hard work in the first 12 months. Cold calling is brutal. Lots of people will hang up on you and they will not want to speak to you. So you've got to have a good script, vet the script, improve the script and get it better. So continual improvement is super critical in this area, because if you keep doing the same thing and it's not working and you're expecting a different result, you'll go out of business. One of the scripts that I have, I think it's in version 140 something, okay, over maybe a 5-year period. So 142 times we updated that script and made it better. Right, so it's critical to get those foundational things right. If you're going to run a cold outreach B2C team or B2B team, right? So my strategy would be lower the barriers to entry as much as you can. Your margin's going to be 2 to 5%, like your conversion rate, will be 2 to 5%. Build the database, take 12 months to do that, then turn marketing on. So this is if you have zero spend, right? In day one, if you have zero spend. Because you have to find a strategy to build business. If you have $0, how do you acquire clients? Sure, you can get influencers, you can get partners, but that's even harder because you're in year one, right? No one's going to come onto your product unless, look, it does happen, but unless you're in the top 1 to 2% and you already have influence, it's very difficult to do that. And I don't know about you, but partners don't normally partner with someone who's in year one and they don't have any IP or any collateral in the market at this time because they have no leverage. Why would they do it? Will they do it for 25 to 45%? Oh, I don't know. I don't know about that. This is a riskless option. If you go to a Done For You option in year one, it's relatively risky. Founders are risk takers. You know, I'm certainly like that. So that could work. But you would need to vet that third party and have the right contracts in place for that to be successful. You want to put yourself in a position, if you go to a Done For You model, that you have the ability to pull the pin on that partner as fast as possible. Because if you get locked into a contract here, it's going to pull your business down. It can do it really quickly. Why? Because I've done it. So I've had one of those partners. It's a partner I used, I think in year 2. They had 6 or 7 sales agents. I signed a 12-month contract with these guys. And it had a market cap on it for the amount of revenue that they would generate in that term. And they failed miserably and I couldn't get out of the contract. So I went to litigation and we had to sort of unpack that. So I lost a bit of money on that model. It doesn't mean it's not going to work. It's just I'm the one who got it wrong. So my advice is, if you need it, use it, but make it the last option. This is the best option, all right? Build your database, go in hard using work ethic, right? Pay your agents a commission, make it a good commission. I would pay them 20 to 25% as a contract sales agent. You need your sales agents bringing in a minimum earnings, minimum of 150K, preferably 250. That's what your sales agents, I draw a little sales agent here. That's a sales agent. That's not actual size, by the way. But you want them earning here as a base and you want them getting here within 24 months. If you can do that, the word will spread and you can build a great team. Right? If they're earning 80K here, it's not going to work. So what happens is when you go to a commission-only model, cold outreach, very hard work, but you can find the people to do it if this remuneration here is high and they believe that they can do it. So put together the documentation and the recruitment process based around that. We're sort of doing that now. That's why I'm talking about this. It's because it's fresh in my mind and my brain is really thinking about this now. So cold outreach, that's basically what it looks like. It's really simple, it's really one-dimensional, and you just apply it in iterations, right? But the goal is get to $25,000 so you can turn on marketing. And then what happens is when you do that, you build a lookalike audience for that, for Meta and for Google, right? And then what it does, when you go to lead inquiry, your conversion rate will increase. So your conversion rate will increase from 2 to 5 and it should go to 10%. So now you're leveraging. So this is a leverage move, by the way. If I cut this down here, this is $0. All about work ethic, hard work, long hours and grind, right? Like this is grit, that's what that is. But if you did it for a year, maybe a year and a half, maybe 2 years, you build the foundation to move into this space. Because that's where you're pulling the revenue across. Because you can't do this forever, it won't work. This is a complement or it's a startup. Like if you're an existing company, you're churning over revenue, for example, and you're doing lead inquiry, B2B, B2C, doesn't matter. And what happens is those expired leads that move into loss, you can't win, they sit there and yeah, you might nurture those leads, but you can't turn that into revenue at a conversion rate of 10% on nurturing. It won't work. You're back to 2 to 3%. Here, 2 to 5%. If you nurtured that database for deals you couldn't close, you still sit at 2 to 5%. You should operate at a minimum of 10%. If you look at the balance sheet and the P&L, your operating expenditure, so your OPEX, will probably sit around 23% on average. In most businesses, that's a healthy OPEX, right? So if you can convert at 10%, it highly impacts your operational expenditure. And that would be the minimum conversion rate. I'm gonna put con rate here. For sales and in a lead inquiry-based marketing format. 2 to 5 here is cool. Why? Because you're not paying for advertising. To acquire the lead, to get a database or a list, it'll cost you a couple of $100. You can buy that list from anywhere. There's 1,000 companies selling those lists online. You have to vet them though if you do that. So you have to run them through some type of software to clean them, ping the email addresses and ping them and ping the phone numbers. All right, cool. I want to move on to number 2. So you've done that year 1, for example. Now you've got some money to spend on advertising. What are you going to do? Go all in on advertising. And you probably should, but you want to do it in iterations. So you want to break it down. So You've generated your database, you've got 25,000 people, and what you've managed to do is you've learnt a whole bunch of stuff here, and you've built an avatar which can build a lookalike audience for you. That lookalike audience will be the foundation of your marketing strategy. And you do that like quick smart. That's all in one little box, by the way. And then you turn on marketing, so you need to spend. Now, I don't know what your numbers will be. I don't know what they are. But you really want to make that, if I was starting out, 10% of gross revenue. I'll let you work that out. So if you're making $10,000 a week, your spend is 1,000. If you're making $100,000 a week, your spend is 10. That's a pretty safe bet. If you look at all the research, like Hormozy talks about this, lots of people talk about this. That's a good number and a safe number. Now people say, wow, hey Lawrence, well should it be a percentage? Like, is that wise? Because when sales go down, marketing spend goes down? We have to figure that out. I don't know how many products you got. It really depends on the amount of products. If you've got 10 products as opposed to 1, that becomes a really easy decision. But if you have 10 products, what's your highest selling product from this year 1 here? So you must say, I've got 10 products. We ran out 10 products in a cold outreach campaign. On the phones, making 100 calls a day. 2 to 3 products sold really, really well. They were easy to sell. People wanted them. They were really good products. And the market was saying they didn't want the other 7. So you need to mitigate that here. So if you've got $1,000 to spend, go 80% all in on the 3 and test, A/B test some of the other products, all right? Now you probably heard the term A/B test before. Who hasn't? But it's pretty important because what it does, it gives you information. It gives you information that your ads are firing, that your copy's right, that your taglines are right, your headlines are right, your creatives are right. And that's what a marketing agency would normally do. I'm not going to get into marketing agencies today, but that's what they would do. If you don't know how to do that, it's basically you just set one product up and test it 2 different ways in the market. Now, basically in year 2, you probably won't get to that. Now, who's going to do it? Are you going to do it? Is someone else going to do it? Do you have a co-founder? Do you have staff at this stage? By the way, you want to get to the end of here and you want to have at least 2 staff. If you're on your own, you want to get to about 2 staff here. Right, because this is earning your MBA, right? To get you, if you can get to $1 million as fast as possible, right? That's your MBA, your Masters in Business. And then you can just leverage from there. So don't worry about the 10 million or the 50 million or the 100 million. Worry about getting to 1, iterate that out, and then build upon it, right? Because it's education. All right, so I'm back into this. So lead inquiry, you want a 10% conversion rate. That's what you should be looking for. Your OPEX will normally, after year 1, sit around 23%. That's very healthy. If it goes past the third, if it goes past 33%, that's the danger zone, right? You're going to use the information you got from year 1 to build your avatar and your lookalike audiences to get you better leverage in your marketing campaign. And you should invest 10% of gross revenue as you move into lead generation. And then A/B test it. A/B test it. It's quite easy to spell. Anyway, A/B test it. Okay, cool. I'm not going to get into calls yet. I do want to talk about calls though. So now, as you notice, I've got B2C, B2B, right? And just here I've got B2B. Because in year 3, if we cut this down, you want to move into this guy. Here's your B2B guy. He's got a big smile on his face. Why is that? Because he earns more money than any of these guys. Why? Right. So if we talk about LTV, lifetime value, on a time horizon, let me take you back so that makes sense, because that LTV might not make sense to you. If your product is $1,000, all right, you negative your OPEX, which is 23%, remember, so you take 23% of that out. You take out whatever you're paying your agent, so that's 25%. As you can see, you don't get left with a lot. You got 10% going into marketing, so you're minus 10. And you're left with the rest, right? But that's on a $1,000 sale. These agents, by the way, are designed for that. That's their DNA, because that's what you train them on. Because when you go into the recruitment process for any of these 2 stages, it's a simplified, watered down recruitment process where you're looking for guys and there's lots of them in the market. This guy here is a bit special. He used to be this guy. He's got the grit, he's done all the work, he's learnt all the skills, and what he's done is he's gone, you know what? I'm smarter than that. I think I should only be doing that. Now, why would he do that? Because instead of that number there, he takes the average to maybe 3,000. So these guys here sell to 1 person. This guy here sells to 1 person, but he's 3xing. This guy sells 1 product to 1 person. This guy sells 3 products to 1 person. That's why this guy's special, right? So in the algorithm of building that business, there's steps here, right? And as you can see, each step, the second step complements the first one, and the third one complements the second one, because through the recruitment process, this guy should pop his little head up and go, hey, I think we could do B2B strictly. I think I'm really good at it. And I've identified that I can 3x my income and your revenue by not doing this one, B2C. And that's a really successful model. Because what are you doing? You're diversifying. So you might still be doing this. So you're bringing in your team here. So when you recruit, you're going to do cold calling. You transition them into this team to go lead inquiry. So we're talking 3% conversion to 10% conversion to 15% conversion in 3 years. Foundational principles, that's how you do it. This guy here, you sort of don't need to train him on the product because he comes from these 2 years. And he'll put his hand up and he might do it super fast. Because when you're in year 1, you're not recruiting this guy. You can't afford him because he's expensive. Why? Because he's going to 3x your revenue. That's why. You can't afford him here. You probably can't afford him here. But if you train him on this, he'll do that just on commission only. You won't need to pay him a base salary. So in a 3-year startup strategy, that's the best formula to ensure success for the business. Unless you got a whole bunch of money that someone's given to you. Or you've stolen it, one of the two. But because there's no other way to do it. I did this in one of my first businesses and I got it to $3 million in under 2 years, right? I'd failed a few businesses before that, sure. And this taught me the foundational principles. This is how you get to 1 to 3. And then I did it again and it worked. And I did it another time and it worked. So I know it works.